what was it like writing about Gracie again, even though it's only a small part? Well, it was interesting because it made me even more excited about writing about Gracie. Gracie, you get to see her personality coming out. She's a lot younger, but you get to see how her mind is working and the type of person that she is. And it made me even more excited to write the prequels, because I am going to be writing about the 4 guys from the Freedom 5 that were left behind on Earth. I even have their book covers already. That tells you how excited I am about writing about them. And it was interesting, but I wanted to know, how did the Aleuthians end up there? And when I started writing, I knew that I needed to include Gracie in this, because in all of the other stories, you're going to be seeing Gracie as she's growing up. Just as I write with the Draglings, it's finding out who are they as a child, and then how they adapt and they grow, and it makes you who you are. So I wanted to include that in Pets in Space and see how it would, how she would evolve over the series of books. Matrix is part of a series. It's part of my cyborg protection unit. The stories, there's a serendipitous factor to it, in that, it's like little pieces of the puzzle all come together to make the bigger picture. And with the cyborg protection unit is really the beginning of how the Aleuthians, not where they come from, but how they played such a part in changing the dynamics in the political atmosphere for the Zion and the Confederation. And so, just as we're going to see Gracie evolve, we're going to see how the Zion world and the world of the Confederation, how they all came together. And it's going to take that knowledge from the past to help them defeat them in the future. Pets for Draglings. Well, the Draglings are basically their own pets, although we do have some babies coming. I do have to tell you that. I am writing another Dragling story. I'm over halfway done with it. I'm really excited about it. I've been sharing little tidbits here and there with a friend of mine, and she's driving me nuts. The Draglings, as you know, Paul and Moriam end up having their little girl, and then we have Viper and Tina's child, and then yes, Riley and Vox had their twins, and there's, oh gosh, who else had it? Oh, you guys are going to have to remind me. It's already past 9 o'clock, so I'm like usually in bed by now. Anyway, there's going to be 3 of the babies there, and I can tell you that the big brothers are very, very protective, so Paul's ready to take them out in the woods and whoop their butt. There's a lot going on. Yes, thank you. The twin dragons, we're going to have Kalo, Cree, and Melina's baby there as well. So I don't want to give too much away, because I want you guys, I'll be giving out some tidbits and hints and everything coming up. But it's going to be really, really good. I'm having a lot of fun. Yes, Christoph, there is going to be more after Twin Dragons Destiny, which will be coming out next year. Jan says, I don't know how you keep up with all your characters. Believe it or not, they're like friends. So it's like I know them. Sometimes it's like my kids, though. It's like, okay, which one are you? I just keep going down the names until I finally get to the right one. And they're like, oh, yeah, I even go through the animals' names. It's like, okay, you're not Fuzzy Bucket. You're not this. You're not that. They're like, thanks, Mom. I really like being called by the dog's name. So, but there is a lot going on. And I'm really, really excited because, I'm finishing up this one, which is called, and I took you guys' advice about that. So I'm getting a little off track because I was going to talk about the pets in space, but um, everything for me, all of the characters come along, and when I was writing the pets in space, it was a way of helping me kind of see Gracie's world even more fuller, I guess you could say, because this way I can see not only what happened from her time forward, but what happened before she left. And having the opportunity to write Pets in Space, it gave me that opportunity to do even more of that world building and seeing how the Zion world was, because this is before the Confederation. They're just in the birth of all of this. And so it's those interactions, and more will come out as I write in that series. And I'll be finishing A Mate for Matrix. It's going to end up being a full-length novel, and I put that in the book so that you know that when they leave Earth, that's just the beginning. I mean, there's going to be a lot more to the story, but it's going to be answer a lot of questions that may have been out there before. Jarman and Jane Doe will be out next year. That's one of those that I'm super excited about. I'm going to be laughing. I'm going to be crying. You know that the two Frenchmen and the two robots will be with them as well. I'm really excited to also talk about some of the audiobooks that are coming out. If you didn't know, Lily's Cowboys and Touching Rune are out. I've already gotten excellent feedback on them. I think that the narrator did a fabulous job with both of them. So I'm really excited about that. I listened to the first chapter in Gracie's Touch today. It's going to be available soon. Half in Song will also be available. I listened to that and it was like, oh my gosh, it was so good. So I've only got 2 more full-length books that have got to be finished for the narration. The narrator is prepping the second book in the Zion series, Crack's Firebrand. And I had to tell him that it was Crack, and that no, I was not on anything when I wrote the name. It actually has a meaning. But that one is now in production. I'm very excited about that one because it's, I just love the Zion series, and I need to get back to writing those. I'm not going to be doing, oh, before I forget, which is something that happens frequently, I also have Indiana Wild and Spirit Warrior that are going to be coming out. So, like I said, I just have 2 full-length books that need to be finished. That's Crack's Firebrand and Ella and the Beast. My novellas are also going to be in production shortly. I've got The Old Dragon of the Mountain going to be, I think he may be finished with that one. I need to double check. I'm pretty sure he's completed that one, and he is going to be starting on the other books. Jan asks, how long does it take to record? Well, it takes a lot shorter time to record the book than it does for me to write it. It takes on average anywhere from 1 to, I would say, 3 weeks. And that's just to record. Because generally what the narrators do is they will read the book first. They'll go through and they'll ask me any name pronunciations or anything else that they may have questions about. And then they do the recording. And how they can, I mean, you're talking 8 to 10 hours in a little bitty booth in front of a microphone reading. How they can do it, I don't know. Because I would be like, oh, so tired and so thirsty. So after they finish that, then it goes to their narrators or to their editors, and their editors listen to it. So they follow along in the book and they listen to it to make sure, did they miss a word? Did they mispronounce a word? Did they say the wrong name? Whatever. And they fix that. And they also have to do what they call engineering, so that they take any like background noises. I don't know if you can hear. I've got the heater going on here. Well, they can't have any of that in there. And then if they have a lisp or if they take a breath or anything like that, they actually engineer that out where they have to go through and listen and then pull it out. And then it comes to us, and then another editor goes through it and listens to the book and follows along and makes sure that everything, and then tweaks anything that needs to be tweaked. And then after the corrections are finally done and returned to me, then we contact the distributor and have them upload it. So it's a pretty time-intensive, labor-intensive thing. And I've learned so much about it, and I have such a deep, deep appreciation for the narrators and their abilities, from, portraying the voices and keeping the voices accurate from book to book, and being able to read the sentences not too fast, not too slow, taking the pauses, fixing anything that I may have done. As much as I tried to do the editing, I mean, there were still some issues with Made for Matrix. I think there was just a couple. But still, I had gone through 19 different edits with that. And corrections and make over and over. And I listen to it. I actually play my stories back and listen to them to make sure that, if I can not see but hear something that doesn't sound right. So it's like, oh my gosh. It's been a big learning experience, but it's been a good one. They say that you should continue to learn throughout your life, and I'm definitely doing that right now. Getting back to audiobooks real quick. Audiobooks, is, let's see, I have Gracie's coming out, Heaven's coming out, Indiana Wild and Spirit Warrior will be coming out shortly. Lily and Rune have just been released. I have to tell you, Rune has to be, and Lily, of course, is always going to have a soft spot in my heart because she was the first book I ever wrote. But touching Rune, especially with the Christmas season coming up, there is something about Rune's story that I just absolutely fell in love with. It was one of those stories like Gracie and like Hannah and Trisha and Abby and Tink and River that just came to me and just kept playing over and over and over in my head. And I kept seeing this statue in a garden, and I knew that I had to write her story. And it's a little bit, again, it's a different genre than my sci-fi, but it is a paranormal fantasy type of time travel story. And I really enjoy writing all different types of stories. So that's one of the things that helps keep me fresh, I think. Drool at the book. Yes, I do drool a lot at the book fairs and the book signings and all of the things that I go to. One of the other things that is I'm going to be writing on is I have Capturing of the Defiance, which is the second book in my Breaking Free series. This one is going to be more new adult than young adult. It's the second series. We'll follow Michaela, Tyrell, and Brian. It's going to be an action, adventure, suspense, thriller, romance, with Michaela being older. Now she's going to be in college. So things have changed a little bit, and there's going to be a lot more for that. I'm also going to be writing First Awakening, which is my Project Gracie series. That's going to be coming out in February. And Ash is kind of like the male version of Riley, in that he's, I just like his personality. He's always into something. He's kind of got that dry, sarcastic sense of humor, but he's he's got a heart of gold, and he tends to get in the wrong place at the wrong time, and of course he's now found himself partnered up with an assassin who was originally supposed to be killing him, and he's like, that's not cool. So anyway, I'm looking forward to writing Ash's story, and then in March the 5th book in the Alliance series will be out, and that's Destin's Hold. So I have First Awakening, or Capture the Defiance, First Awakening, and Destin's Hole, which I promised that I had to get done for Ingram. So that's one of the things that I'm going to be working on. I've also got another special surprise. One of my free books on my website, Tilly Gets Her Man, is also going to be released in December. And it was actually, I was asked by the narrator if he could do it. This is P.J. Auckland, who did Heaven Song, and he asked me if he could record a short story for a promotion that a friend of his was doing. She does it. She's an A-list narrator, and she does a huge promotion every December, and she was looking for a romance. So PJ asked me if I had a book that I could give him that had to be less than 4,000 words. And Tilly Gets Her Man's a little bit longer, but he didn't mind doing it. And so I will be sharing that with you as a free audiobook as well in December. And I think you guys will really, really like it because it's such a cute story. And I love Tilly and Angus Bell. They're part of my Cosmos Gateway, for those that don't know. Tilly and Angus are Tink, Hannah, and Tansy's mom and dad. And this is about when they first met. So it's a really cute story. If you'd like to read it, it is on my website under the free reads. The next book in the Lords of Cassia is going to be Jarman's Jane Doe. That's going to be Jarman and Jane's story. I'm really looking forward to that one. It's going to be a tearjerker, but again, it's also going to be one of those that you're going to be crying so hard because you're laughing, because you can't help but do that when you have poor Jarman stuck with the two Frenchmen and the two robots. The Cruzian Warriors, it's going to be the Dark Princess Prize. That's going to be Adelar and Samara's story. And I know I'm supposed to have already had that done. And between all of the conventions this year and life, and I'm trying to figure out a good way of saying life, getting old. I've had to take some time off, kind of like a mind rest, I guess you could say. But I'm feeling much better, and I'm slowly getting back into the work of things. Like I said, I'm writing on the story now. Jan says life. Okay, guys, this is like not something that you want to put out into the world, but I'm getting older and I'm going through menopause, and it totally sucks right now. So it's been like, okay, hot flash. So I've been trying to get those under control. So if anyone else out there has been through this, I'm telling you, I think we could take over the world with no issues, because it's like one minute you're doing fine and the next you're like ready to strangle everybody. So, yeah, Jan says snap. It's like, yeah, snap. So anyway, I'm getting much better than I was. So thumbs up. Thank goodness for finally saying, okay, I'm trying all of these different herbal stuff to see if it works. The next books that I'm working on are, after the Dark Princess Prize, I'm going to have The Heart of the Cat, which is going to be the Seraphim story. And that is going to be with Vox's brother. So I do have a long list of books coming up. I have Chorus Attack in the Cosmos Gateway series. There's going to be more in the Alliance series. I want to write Tracy and Mitchell's book in the More Than Human series. I have Dallas' story that needs to be written for the Second Chance. I have Manakota and Aaliyah's story for the Spirit Pass. And I have Grandma Pearl's story that I still need to write. And oh my gosh, Tori's poor brother is still stuck in Far, Far Away. And I don't think I will ever be able to rest until I rescue the poor guy. And then Tia's brother, Tamblin, I have to write his story too. So you can see that there's a lot of stories coming up. Lorna says she knows how I'm feeling. It's been an adventure, I'm telling you. you think that, okay, just having, raised kids and stuff, that you'd be all right. And then it's like, okay, let's try this all over again. So if anyone ever says that being a woman is easy, no, it's not. Jan says, I have to live for a very long time or make the days longer. I've been trying to figure out how to slow down time, not sleep, and find this fountain of youth that was supposed to be in St. Augustine, and I still haven't found it there. So I need to find all of those. If I could just do without sleep, I would do a lot better. It's like one of those things. Sleep or try to be a zombie all the time and look like one too. So I'm trying to find balance. We went to the movies last night, so that was a good thing. I try to do my date night. That's one way of staying with the man that I love. We've been married over 30 years, so we try to keep the romance in it. He was doing that, trust me. It was like, oh my gosh, I couldn't move the other day. It was just like, oh, I was so tired. But he's going to have me out at the crack of dawn. So you guys are going to get more pictures of the mountains and stuff. It's like freezing here. It's in the 30s. And I'm not used to it. I guess back home the highs were in the 80s, high 70s, low 80s. So I'm like, right now my toes are like frozen. Julie was reminding me that we were riding with the windows down and singing. And if you were to ask Miss Sally from England, I'm not the best singer in the world, but we had fun. Lorna said the Alliance books helped me get through a tough week. Thank you. Well, thank you. Which was your favorite Alliance book? That was one of the things, when I first wrote the Alliance, it was one of the books that was supposed to be a novella, and it was going to go into an anthology. And after 3 days, I had over 30,000 words. I knew that it couldn't. And so I finished Hunter's Claim. And by the way, I'm still working on getting that one made into a movie. We're working on that with the producer. We're talking back and forth. It takes a long time. It's one of the things I need to learn. It's more patience. But I am working on trying to get some of my books made into movies. And then after I wrote Hunters, I ended up writing Razors. And I know a lot of people were like, why did you write Razors instead of, Dagger and Saber's story? And a big portion of that was because when I first wrote, I knew in my mind that Jordan and Taylor needed to grow up. For me, they were still too young. And it's like, well, I know they're fictitious characters, but, for me, they just weren't ready. And it worked out. I had mentioned Razor just once in Hunter's book, but he ended up being such an integral part to Dagger's story, because there's no way that Jordan would have been able to rescue Dagger without Razor's help. And then again, when it came to when Taylor was in trouble, and it took all of them to go help Saber rescue Taylor. So, it's funny how when you're writing, sometimes you don't always understand why you're writing certain things in a certain order or how it's going to play out. But, it may come out like 3, 4, 5 books later that I needed to write it in that order so that it would make sense and it would complete a pattern of how things are going. And that's a lot in the way that when I wrote the story for Pets in Space, I needed to write Matrix story. I needed to have the Cyborg Protection Unit and the Zion Warriors. And it was important that they be there and they be part of this, because that is the catalyst for where did the Aleuthians come from in the first place. So if I hadn't have written that, then I wouldn't have seen the bigger picture of what's going on in that world. And the more I write, the more it becomes obvious to me. It's like the characters know what's going on, and I've learned to just trust them. I've had to. It's they're the ones that are living it. I'm just the medium helping bring it out. So it sounds weird in a way, but they're like movies playing in my head. So if I listen to them and I trust them, I know that they will lead me to where I'm supposed to go. So anyway, I promised myself that this would not be a 2-hour event tonight. And I want to say thank you to everyone for joining me. And I will be touching base with you guys again really soon. I hope everyone has a safe and wonderful weekend. And thank you again for joining me tonight. Good night.